excited. So many great new Twitter handles to follow. Thank you. Well, hello everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, welcome to Synchronous Online Teaching Strategies. Today's session is Math Workshop, where we are going to focus on linear functions. The content of today is more of that pre-algebra, early Algebra 1 concepts. However, the pedagogy is what is going to remain the same even in elementary school and all the way through college courses. So what I hope that you see here isn't necessarily just like this is the content I have to know, but rather these are the pedagogical strategies that you can do in Math Workshop. I hope for those of you who are teaching pre-algebra and Algebra 1 that you can use these slides early on in your class sessions and they're useful. And if you teach elementary, I have several elementary math workshop sessions either developed or coming out soon. And you can check my website, teresawills.com, to learn more about that. The next one coming out next week is going to be Base 10 blocks in 2-digit addition. So that's available there. To interact today, you will need two windows. You're going to need Collaborate, and if you can hear me, that means you have Collaborate open. The other thing you're going to need are the interactive slides. I'm going to post a link in the chat box. Be sure to click that link because I'm going to stop sharing my slides now. And you'll need to click that link in order to engage in today's activities. Again, that link is right here. Alrighty, so you should be into the Google Slides. I see many more folks here. Wonderful job. And if you are just coming in, you're going to need to click this link to the Google Slides. You'll see on the landing page, I have several ways for you to continue to stay in touch. And in addition, on slide 2, there are 2 ways that you can bookmark sites in order to get more materials. All of my templates are available on my website. And also, this PD recording and many others are available along with those nice, fresh, crisp, clean slides with no writing on them. So I hope that you find that useful as well. On slide 3 is just some heads up about the program that I teach in at George Mason University. If you're interested in becoming a K-8 math specialist, definitely check us out. We've been teaching 100% live synchronous classes now for 6 years, and that's where a lot of these strategies have developed from. Slide 4 are our norms for success. So today, you're going to be engaged the entire time. Make sure you put away all distractions. Reduce or eliminate background noise. Questions are super important. When they come up, they go all the way down on the last slides. I can already see some lovely questions on here in the virtual parking lot. When you're in small groups, our norm is all mics on. If you happen to have some really loud background noise that you can't change, then I say keep your mics active so that you can turn them on and off frequently as you have contributions. Your words matter, so let's make sure we're using positive asset language when describing kids. And mistakes happen. If you accidentally delete something, move something that wasn't supposed to be there, just hit Control-Z. That undoes your mistake. If you're on a Mac, it's Command-Z. Don't drive while participating, and update your profile picture and collaborate if you have a moment. We love to see people at different angles and the different ways that you put pets and people in your photos too. And then if you would join me down on slide 5, if you want more room, 6, 7, or 8. And share with us your successes and your celebrations, what's going on in your life right now, and what are you celebrating? And someone that was painting at the beach, I can't wait to hear about that. Who is that? How did it go?
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hi, yeah, I'm Bina. Yeah, I went to the beach yesterday and painted. It was just beautiful. Just very healing and refreshing and um, exactly what I wanted to do, like right before school starts on Monday.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that people are making time for themselves. As teachers, I think we might be the last ones to take a moment for ourselves, and it is so critical and important that we do that. Um, let's see, somebody joined the virtual summit this last week. What an incredible opportunity. If you didn't know about that, the recordings are available for about another week. Who did the blue box, and tell us one thing that you learned from it?
This is Lisa, and I really enjoyed listening to Sarah Vanderwerf. Every speaker was excellent, but I think it's Carol beneath me. We talked about the numberless word problems, and I used those a little bit last year, and will continue this year.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, when we do numberless word problems, we're really focusing on the what's happening in the word problem instead of so much on the answer, which gets kids in a problem-solving mindset. That is wonderful to hear. Um, somebody said they're starting Little House on the Prairie. Who's that and how is it?
Good morning, Teresa. Hi, it's Laura. That would be me. I love my pop culture, and I know I'm about 40 years too late to the party, but I started watching with my fourth graders, and now I am obsessed.
Laura, I love how every time that you come to one of these, you have another cool pop culture thing, which then I go back to my own children who are rising second and third graders, and I'm like, hey, have you heard of this? You want to watch DuckTales with me? And it's spreading. It's so fun to see the way that you connect with students in the things that you love and the joy that you have.
I have to say though, like I had never heard of it when somebody else recommended it to me. Like the main characters are all girls, which I think is really empowering from a show from 1970. So I truly recommend it to anybody who's listening.
Oh, very cool. Thank you. And Caitlin, how's potty training going?
No. Hi, thank you. So we have our son is 4.5, almost 5, and he has autism, and so potty training has been a real challenge for us. And he's finally having success and communicating to us when he needs to go. So that's a huge celebration in our house right now.
Oh, so excited that you have that celebration. Wonderful. All right, folks. These are successes and celebrations. I find them to be the most important part of any lesson. Whether you are getting together with strangers, you're getting together with people that you've had a little bit of connection with, or your class that you connect with every day. There's a variety of ways you can do successes and celebrations, which includes a slightly different prompt each day, but it gives students a chance to write and respond in the way that they want with animated GIFs, with photos, with text and color. And it's a great way to showcase, the way that you are unique and an individual. We're going to jump right on in. I am on slide 9. Um, what we're going to look at today is a math workshop model, and this is more geared towards secondary. The content, as I mentioned earlier, is pre-algebra, algebra 1 concepts, but it's not the content that's at the heart of the learning today. It's the pedagogy. Um, we are really going to focus here in this column, and this is coming out of Jennifer Lemp's book, Math Workshop. We're going to start with a whole class number routine, move into learning stations, and end with a student reflection. And I hope today that you see a variety of ways that we can kind of explore Math Workshop in different stations. If you join me on slide 10, you will see what those different stations are. You're going to explore 8 stations today, And while I wouldn't necessarily give all 8 stations to my students in one day to do, I'm doing this PD for teachers. And so I'm going to have you get a taste for all 8 today, and then think about the pedagogy moves that you will use in order to implement these with your students. One way that I do that is I will sometimes pick 2 activities, highlight them in a nice bright color like yellow, and those are their must-dos. And so they have to jump to those 2, and they must do those in that group before they can move over to the can-dos. Each group might look a little different, so that might be group 1. And if I were to go to group 2, their must-dos might be these 2. And I would purposely group students and assign must-dos and can-dos to support them with that. So let's jump right in. We're going to start and end with a whole class routine. And our whole class routine is on slide 11. It's called Which One Doesn't Belong? And I invite you on slide 11 to move a doesn't belong symbol to whichever graph you think doesn't belong. And if we run out of symbols, you can simply copy and paste one, especially if you're thinking of 2 different ones that don't belong. Ooh, lots of ideas, but I still see one quadrant that's not selected yet. I'll give you a chance to think about why that other one might not be it. Wonderful. And let's hear out from some people. The strategy I'm going to use here is assuming that everyone has an opinion and get everyone's voice on the table. So I'm going to ask within Collaborate, if you would please raise your hand. And we're going to have everybody raise their hand here. So all hands up in Collaborate. This means that you are ready to share an idea. Now, if your idea is shared by somebody else, you may go ahead and put your hand down, but please give them the connection symbol or a way of saying like, me too, and you can use any emoji in the chat box to show that. If you have a second idea, put that hand back up, and we'll keep going through till we hear all these different ideas. So we'll start off with Anna. Anna Foster, tell us which colored arrow did you say didn't belong and why?
Okay, I said the blue one because that is the only line that does not go through the origin.
Oh, it doesn't go through the origin, which is that little point there at 0, 0. Wonderful. Lee, can you tell us what you were thinking? What color? Wonderful. And Lee, could you tell us what you were thinking? What color arrow you were thinking doesn't belong?
Hi, I was looking at the first pink arrow quadrant and I chose that because it's the only one with a negative slope.
And Lee, can you tell us what does a negative slope mean and how could I see that on this picture?
Well, in this picture, it would mean that as you kind of read the graph from left to right, that it's going down.
So if you read it in this direction, it's going down. Cool. All right, let's see what other hand we have up. Kelly, Lynn Page, go ahead and tell us which one you think doesn't belong.
I chose the orange one because it was the only one where the slope is not either 1 or positive 1.
And how could I visually understand what you mean by slope here?
Visually, I can think about the change in the dependent variable compared to the change in the independent variable. So I think it looks like the dependent variable goes up 1 while the independent variable goes to the right 3. So I might think of it as a 1/3 rise over run or slope.
Oh, very cool. And Rochelle, tell us, which one do you think doesn't belong? Oh, or maybe you just lowered your hand. If you want to tell us, go ahead and interrupt me. Otherwise, Jessica, you're up next. Which one did you say doesn't belong?
I also chose the blue one because the intercept was not 0, the Y-intercept.
And what does an intercept mean? And you can go ahead and move that blue arrow. Where do you see that intercept?
So the intercept is where the line crosses the Y-intercept, and in this case it's looks like 3.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. And Rochelle, oh, maybe your hand went down again. Stephanie, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on, I believe it was Jennifer who was just speaking about the Y-intercept, that in fact the blue arrow also doesn't belong because it's the only one with an X-intercept that's not 0.
And can you show us where the X-intercept is?
Oh crap, let me go back to slides.
Take your time.
Where the line crosses the X-axis. I don't know if I'm moving it.
Oh, yes, I see it there. Wonderful. And one of the things I'm starting to notice is that there are fewer and fewer hands up. At this point, we don't have any more hands up. And so that is a way that I can get every single student to participate in this, which one doesn't belong. And everyone starts off on a great note because they all have their hands up. They're ready to participate right away. All right, folks, that was a which one doesn't belong. And on slide 12, you're going to see this slide after every activity today. You don't need to write anything down for it. Instead, just think together. Maybe this thinking is happening while you're interacting. But each activity shows a different way that students collaborate. And the definition for collaborate here means that multiple brains mean more ideas. Students will interact different ways, which means they click, move, drag, change things on the slides. And you'll have voice different ways. Sometimes it's over audio, text box, chat box, different types of chat boxes, and think about the ways that you have student voice here. Slide 13 are my group slides. I'll be the one to place you in groups. You're automatically going to go there. Once you're there, you'll click on whichever group you're in, and those of you who are familiar with this teleconferencing platform, please help folks that don't use this one to know what group they're in. I'll also come around. So you'll click what group you're in, and you'll have a whole deck of slides. They look a lot like the ones below. And you're going to get a taste for every activity. Timekeeper, please try and keep people on about 5 minutes per activity. It's going to go super fast, but you're looking at this from a teacher perspective. Each activity starts with directions and some slides to interact. The familiar, directions, slides to interact, and the familiar. And you're just going to keep going through all of those slides. We will come back in half an hour. That's just 5 minutes per activity. But hopefully in that time, you'll be able to experience enough that we can have a whole group conversation about some of the affordances of Math Workshop. Our breakout rooms will start in 3, 2, 1, now. Hello, Naomi. I am going to pop you in a group. We just started breakout rooms. And I am going to put you in group 3.
Okay. Can I just ask you real quick,
Yeah.
what was the routine that you worked on today?
We just did which one doesn't belong. I'm going to give you access to the slides, and then you can jump right into that group 3 and start participating.
Okay, and what is this slide here? I don't know, it says with all the group numbers in front of it.
I'm going to give you access to it in just 1 second.
Okay.
what I'm doing now is opening up every group. You'll notice that my naming convention has the group number first. That helps me out a lot when I have tons of tabs open, so I can see right away where the groups are and be able to click on those. Yes, I have 11 groups. I can also now check the top of each of these groups, make sure that there looks like there's about 4 people, 3 to 4 people in them, so I know that the groups are in their slides. I'm just checking these avatars here to make sure people are in it. And it looks like group 11 doesn't have anyone, so I'm going to go in there and check on them.
No, if you're okay, now I've got
Hi,
right
group
click and
11.
put it in. Oh, group
Hi
11.
there. I
Okay.
just wanted to give you the link to your group slides. I pasted it in the chat box there. If you go into those group slides, you'll be able to participate in all 6 group activities.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is interesting.
All right. I'm
Right, so
seeing people come in
are
now.
we putting ourselves into the group? Or are we in the group?
You're already in the group. You all are group 11.
Okay.
That's something that I place you in. Each teleconferencing tool works a little differently, but you all are a group of 4. There's Joyce, Dawn, Jeanette, and Nicole in this room. Feel free to turn on your mics.
How were we supposed to know that we were in group 11?
That's part of the teleconferencing tool that it would go there. If you're not familiar with Collaborate, that's not what you use. It's, no big deal.
Okay.
I usually have a couple people in here who use it, so I kind of start with that, and then I go in and support groups who don't have someone who uses it.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Ours told us to go to the main room.
All right, so you should have, I see 3 people in there. It starts off with the timekeeper, secretary, communicator, and mayor, and I see you all in it now.
Right, so what do I have to do with the slideshow?
So on slide 2, you'll see some directions. And
Yeah, but is this link different than the one that we started with at the beginning of the course?
it is. This is just your group's link. Only the 4 of you all have access to this.
So I'm just opening it in a new window.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Okay. All right, now I see it.
All right, so do we want to pick who's the roles here?
Timekeeper. That's my speed. We got a half hour, right?
Yeah.
Right. So have we lost 5 minutes?
Probably.
That's all right, folks. Just kind of explore these with your teacher hat on. See different ways you could use them, different ways you might modify the directions, and just have fun with it.
Okay.
Later to the
Hello, group 1. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So it looks like folks have already kind of put a rule behind the black screen. And is everyone else guessing, giving some inputs, and then that author can give some outputs?
A head and their arms come out of their shoulders.
Cool. Yeah, just explore it for a little bit, see different ways students could interact, and then just keep on moving through the slides and enjoy all the different activities. Oh, no worries, Jamie.
Yeah, and we do want to make sure that we're about 5 minutes into where we started groups.
Okay.
But I think this is a great one in terms of just seeing, like, if they can take it to the next level. I kind of envision the kids, like, we all have those games of Guess My Rule, and if they've just figured out the rule, now if they can actually...
2 says Guess My Rule in blue.
That makes more sense.
I repasted it again in the chat. So if you click on that link, that will take you to the group 3.
Okay. Thank you. Let me get that.
Oh, sorry, Teresa, we're not actually doing what we're supposed to be doing.
No worries. I'm just checking in, seeing where everyone is.
We were just catching up. These lovely ladies are from Austin, Texas, and I did my grad school at UT Austin. And so we were just kind of comparing what our districts are doing.
Yeah. You know what? Those informal conversations that aren't necessarily related to the kind of academic things are so important to value in distance learning. So usually I'll run through the different groups and just listen in. And, you know, if I hear students talking about that, I'll make a little note that like these 3 have made a connection. And I keep that in my observational log. And then in the future, I might purposefully group you all together to continue to build that community. And I also might check in another 3 to 4 minutes to see if you have indeed moved over to the academic part. But yeah, I don't try to move people too fast because that community is so important.
Especially virtually, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
This observational log that you just mentioned, is that a thing you're going to be talking about later? Or
Gosh, my observational log is a journal of chicken scratch in fun colors. I would love to say that it has more order to it, but I just kind of use up a journal and it's continuous through time. And then when one fills up, I just get a new one. I would love to say there was more organization with it, but I am not a very organized journaler. So I just kind of flip back and I'm like, oh yeah, I saw here that, you know, Lacey, Stephanie, and Anna were in a same group. I have a blue circle around it. And I might, you know, move that over to group sides, but yeah, think about how you might do it.
okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Hi there, Group 5. How does it feel to work together on things that are all the same here, but they're represented a little differently?
I think it really pushes you to think about how one function could be represented different ways and then checking in with other group members to make sure that you're all on the same page about it.
Absolutely. Lovely. Hello there, Group 6.
Hi.
How does it feel to be doing the same problem in so many different ways as a small group?
It's nice. I really like the graph creator. I'm just trying to figure it out.
I love the Graph Creator because it can be used at so many grade levels. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Desmos so much, but I think sometimes the Desmos functions does a little more than I want it to do for our younger students, and that's why I put this graph in here.
Mm.
Nice.
And maybe if somebody else will write, that would be awesome because my kid is screaming and I need to go get him. He just woke up.
Okay, I'll be the typer. Write a real.
Right. Taking turns changing only one card. Plot your point. First to 4 points in a function wins. Video directions. Do we have time to watch the video directions?
Let's see how long they are.
Coordinate plane, 4 in a row. Oh, this is
it's
like
44 seconds.
Yeah, we have time. It's only 44 seconds.
Okay.
And interacting. What did we do to interact?
Hello there,
Hi,
Group
Martha.
9.
Hi, Teresa.
I see that
Hi,
many of you are
Teresa.
on slides 6 and 7. I did want to motivate you to make sure you're using your time to explore all 6 of these activities. There's a lot here. And
Okay.
I also don't want to stress you out. You know, go through them, participate them in how much you'd like to, enough to get your teacher hat rolling, and then you can skip on down to the next one. You don't need to fully interact the way a student would on these.
Got it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
Line graph? Oh, maybe the XY graph, actually.
Hi, group. I love the conversation you're having on which type of graph do we use. And that's one of the things that I love about this app is that it gets kids to question those exact same things and ask what information do I actually have here.
So what are you guys thinking? Do you think that we want the line
to complete all 5 sections?
Okay.
Oops, I think, okay.
Okay,
All
so
right.
I'm going to turn the timer on for 5 minutes.
All right.
That's all we get.
So I'll do the writing if we want. Copy and paste the graph here. Use this manipulative. Okay, so stage 1, stage 2, 5 representations of a function. So like I would personally go to the table first.
Hi there, Group 1.
Hello.
I'm curious, how does it feel to have all 5 of these representations on the same slide and have to work together to find all these pieces?
We definitely have to communicate on what each of us are working on. I mean, you're working on the same document so you can see what everyone else is doing, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
Teams.
Well, I'm fiddling with that graph manipulative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine either sitting out or doing it, either way.
So like if I'm player 1 and I did this, then I think somebody would drag. I
think you only do 1 to start.
So I plot mine. Got you.
We're working on together. Add 2. It cuts adding 2.
Hi, Group 3.
Okay.
How does it feel to
Hello.
have to make 4 different representations, but know that they're all of the same thing?
Right now, overwhelming. I'm the timekeeper.
Sure thing. When you're doing this one, it's perfectly okay too to move to your strengths. So if you see this picture of circles and you're thinking, gosh, I'm really good at a word problem, but maybe I don't know the function, then move over in that area and work towards your strengths.
Good.
+1.
I mean, I understand the picture, the example 1.
1.
I see. Okay. So you didn't have to screen, like clip it or screenshot it or anything?
I just did a right click and copied it and copied the image and then pasted it. And you saw I had to it was real big, to shrunk it down. And it's not the best graph I've ever made, but
But you get a visual of the growth, you know, the steepness of the graph. You can speculate what the y-intercept would be. Interesting, because we use a lot of Desmos, their graphing calculators. That's become now embedded on our standardized tests. So I'd never heard of this other one. Did you guys use that on, what do you guys have, the star cuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely use
paper pencil, isn't it?
It is. Okay, are we ready for slide 14?
Okay, so she has a video that she needs us to watch.
And you really have to watch it carefully.
You have to really think about getting them in the right place.
Yeah, this is a good one. I think we've got the idea. Should we move on?
Hi, group.
Yeah.
I could just hear your understanding of this when you're like, you really have to think about the right place. Exactly. That's one of the fun parts about only having to move one, and a way to make it challenging.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool.
Do the dot. And I can't remember your name, but you helped me. Donna.
And I love the way Teresa makes these slides and the kids have voice. They get to move the things. They get to create the coordinates.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
I can replay one, yes. Okay, so I'm changing, let me go back to the rules. So take turns changing only one card. Okay, so I'm going to change.
All right, speaking from a presenter, teacher facilitator point of view, I have all of these different tabs up, and I can see very clearly where each group of students are because their avatars will be on that slide. So that's how I know where to check in. At this point, I'm kind of thinking about time management. So I hop up into the main room where nobody else is. This is my quiet space. And I kind of look to see where everyone is. I'd love everyone to be at the game or further down. So I'm just doing a quick check there. And if they're not, then I'm going to pop in that room and here we go, group 3, and I'll motivate them to continue into the game so that they can see every activity. Another thing I can do from a presenter's point of view is look down at these breakout rooms. And this is specific to using Collaborate. However, many other teleconferencing tools have the ability for you to see, how many people have their microphones on. And you can even see when microphones are really active. So I kind of come down occasionally and do a check-in there and see if maybe I need to check in with some of these groups. In Collaborate, I can see here that this person's talking. So that also influences which group I go into and how I talk to that group. But if I ever see a group with all mics off, I usually go in there and just try to figure out why. Sometimes they're watching a video, but other times they have just disengaged and I need to go in there and check in. So here I just gave them and everyone a chat message to help motivate them to move along without stressing them out. All right, I want to go in group 8 and see how they are thinking about these two vases.
This one's hard.
Let's jump down to 21.
Check for understanding.
Select any vase, write the rationale. Oh, this is a continuation of what we just did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And describe the graph.
So folks, when you go into this one, it's an opportunity for each of you all to respond. So each person gets their own section and you move over your own vase. And while you can see other people's responses, you have to apply that to your own situation, which is slightly different.
Cool.
How would you even start to describe this graph?
I guess it has to be done with time, right? Because the graph is, oh, this one is height and volume, but the video was rate of change, which used time.
It's hard.
Ooh, group 3.
Okay, so
What
slide
number are we on
11.
now?
So you go to 12 and I'll read you the directions from 11, okay?
Okay.
So if you, it says,
Good,
4
they are
steps in a row. Number 1, take turns changing only one card. 2, plot your point. 3, first to 4 points in a function wins. And then there's video directions if we want to take time to do it.
All right, I gotta run.
But do we have, what does she mean by cards?
The
Oh,
little tiles?
numbers? I'm assuming the tiles. Okay. So, take turns changing only one card. I don't understand. I'd have to watch the video, but I don't know if we have time. Let me look at it quickly. I see.
I'm going to copy our story onto the main slide.
Okay, so I'm looking at the video and they put in the coordinates and then, oh, but it stopped. Let me see, but then, so they had 1, 4, then they changed it to -1, and so they're changing coordinates and each time they're adding a plot is what they're doing.
Where do they get
I get it. So let me show you. So like if I did this, let me see if I can pull this up. if they did this, you would mark that first.
Right.
Player one would take their little dot
Right.
and put it, let me see if I get this right, one, so be it one.
Now we're going to draw a new line, I guess.
Yeah, the graphs are locked, but the lines you can play around with.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Okay, I have no idea how to start. I feel very stupid. I don't. Can somebody give me a little hint? Double the y-axis. What is it?
Yeah, so doubling the y-intercept in the first function at the top is 2. So doubling it would give you y equals 3x 4. And then you're just going to use that new, you might want to like type that, like for instance, we could have typed our new functions here. So I would have done y equals 3x plus 1. Just so you don't have to like keep it in your mind.
Hi there, group. I love the way that in this example, when students might not be totally sure how to begin on it, it's everyone has their own columns. So you don't kind of intrude in somebody else's space, but you can still chat about it. You can explain what's happening, and they still have their space for their voice. And working together, you all will be able to see the way that this problem relates to the other representations.
Thanks, Teresa.
It was kind of hard to move that line, but I think I got it in the right place. I think this one was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like this one a lot, especially
I like the ones where they can like look at each other's, but it's not necessarily going to give away the answer.
And why is that?
And
What's happening there in terms of like the pedagogy and the thinking that the kids are doing?
So they're still having to like go through like identifying the parts of the given function and then doing the transformation. So they could use like if I'm half the y-intercept and I'm stuck, I could compare if the third column is already done. I could say, okay, well, they didn't have to do half, they had to do double, but I could look and see like what changed and then use that to get me started. And then hopefully from there, filling out the table, I'm able to do using my knowledge of input-output.
Yeah, you can have a discussion of like, oh, on half the slope, because I had half the slope, that means I have to change the red arrow to 3/2 plus 2. And if like kids forgot what slope and intercepts were, as a group, you could have a conversation about what those were, and then you can focus on what you need to change.
Absolutely.
It also just occurred to me that the stuff that we were doing before, we were just looking at intercepts and figuring out how the leads us to this. Like it's like sort of giving a little build up so we can be able to do this on our own.
You got it.
Right.
All right, I'm going to pull
I
us
also
all
really
back.
liked the first one.
All right, let's pull everyone back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm going to go ahead and turn off microphones. I do that to protect your privacy and your own background noise, and also just to make sure we don't all talk on top of each other. Wonderful. Okay, you will have access to these slides. So if you didn't get to every activity and you wanted to explore it, you still can. But I do want to bring everyone together for a closing activity, and then we'll talk about the math workshop and kind of how it all worked out. I'm going to come back into the main slides. The main slides, if you've closed them, here's the link again in the chat box. They start with today's date on it. And I am going to move down to slide 40. So slide 40 of the main slides. Oh yeah, I can see so many people coming down here. These are just copied out from your slide decks. So I used a variety of different voices here. We could have whole group discussions about them. But we have on slide 40, the Guess My Rule. Slide 41. We had all 5 representations of a function on the same slide, so students are seeing the way that they're the same. We practiced some coordinate plane plotting on slide 42, and some students will emerge with strategies since you can only move one card at a time. On slide 43, you had a picture of a graph and you had to use the scribble tool to figure out like what does the vase look like when the volume is filling at this rate and then all of a sudden it gets faster. On slide 44, this came from a group. This was a check for understanding where each member of the group are all writing their responses so that they're visible to everybody. But it does halt this idea of copying because each person has to pick their own vase. So even though the strategy and idea might be the same, the application is different. And they can see the difference of the applications right there on the screen. And slide 45, the students in this section were changing only one part of the function, either the slope or the y-intercept, and they were regraphing it below. Each student had their own column, so everyone had a voice. They were responsible for their own section, and they had one transformation to make. However, the whole group could talk about this in general because they have the same initial function that they are changing in their column. So those are kind of a heads up of the different activities. As a whole class, I would ask you to join me on slide 46. If you need more room, go to 47 and 48. And I'd ask you to tell me about slope here. Which one has the greater slope? There's 2 functions. But since you all are teachers, I'm going to ask you which has the greater slope and which activity helped you to learn this material. So please respond with which has the greater slope and which activity helped you to know this answer. At this point, I could ask a couple students to share out with the whole class why they selected what they did, and I like to notify students that they would be one of the ones to speak out loud by changing the color of their box. That gives them just a minute to make sure they can find the microphone button. They might practice what they were saying, and it doesn't put them on the spot as much when we give them a little notification. All right, so that would be my closure. on slide 50 is just a recap of all 8 things that I would have in this unit. I might have different students doing different ones at different times. And because the students are in the small breakout rooms, that allows me a chance to work and do a mini lesson targeted with one group of students for a particular need. And that mini lesson could be on anything. It could be some prior knowledge that they need. They might be extensions. It might just be a whole different representation, but it gives me time to work with a small group of 4 to 6 kiddos because I know all my other groups are highly engaged in doing that activity. One way that I kind of monitor this whole thing, I'll share my screen with you so you can see what's going on kind of from the air traffic controller point of view. You all saw that I was going into your breakout rooms and asking you questions. I knew what slide you were on and I didn't miss a beat with those questions. And that's because you'll notice on my screen, I have all the different groups up in the top tabs. And my naming convention with group number first helps me to see even when I have a ton of tabs open. I also know which one are a main slide deck because I always started off with the date. So whatever you choose for your naming convention, keep that in mind. And as I'm moving into the different rooms, I can see where people are because of their avatars. So if I see people on a group on many different slides, I know that they're not working together, or maybe they took a pause. There's something going on. But when I see a whole group on the same slide like I do here, I can jump right in. I can ask them how they're doing, what they're thinking, and I don't miss a beat. And that's because I can see where they are within this group. The last thing I would do on slide 51 is give students a chance to independently answer these matching questions. I'm curious if they can understand increasing and decreasing and constant. So I would ask them to make a copy of this slide and put it in their interactive notebook. Or maybe just a blank slideshow they're going to share with me. This part would be totally independent. They would move it into their own interactive notebook or slide, and they would start responding. You guys can feel free to respond right on the slide here. They're just little matching ones. And this gives me a super fast check-in on what my students understand. If you're doing interactive notebooks, you can just have the students copy and paste this in, and they can copy new things in each day that you want a quick check of their independent understanding. So folks, that is Math Workshop in an hour. Whew, I know that was a ton of stuff. The slides are here. They'll always be here. You're welcome to go in and explore the other activities if you didn't get a chance to see everything today. But I hope in this 1 hour I was able to inspire you to try breakout rooms, to try different activities, to target those activities, and to get time to work one-on-one or in small groups with students. And that's how I would do it. So there you go. I'm going to spend the rest of the time in the virtual parking lot. There's lots of questions, so I'd be happy to answer all of them for whoever wants to stay after. And if you have made other slides that you would like me to put up on my website for others, Raha did one on slide 56. Thank you for sharing. I'll be sure to post that, and thank you for putting your Twitter handle in there so we know how to reference you. All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to go to these whole group or these virtual parking lot questions, answer those, and good luck with your math workshops. All righty. So somebody, let me close up all these breakout math workshops real quick. Get my document kind of clear. On my website, I have several video tips and hacks to make your Google experience better. And I'm going to post that link at the very top because a lot of these questions I've answered in video format. But in terms of how do you get someone to be anonymous, that is the different ways of sharing Google Slides. And I have a video that explains how to do that, which I'll link. And basically, when you're sharing, You have options of sharing a link. This will make them anonymous. You also have options of sharing email address, student ID numbers, or an email list that you've created, and that will allow you to push it out to all your class where you see their names and not the anonymous. Somebody asked, how do you highlight the different must-do, can-do tasks? If I go up to slide 50, this slide is comprised of some shapes. It's also comprised of pictures and text. And when I do the must-do, can-dos, I click only on the shape, and I go to the fill bucket, and I use the fill button. So again, I would click on the shape. Whoops, see now I've got this text box up here. Let me move that. All right, there I've got the shape, the fill bucket, and changing it. I like to use yellow for must do because it sounds like mustard, and red for can do because it's like ketchup, but use whatever you like. Oh, must do and ketchup were the two that I was thinking. All right, how do you make the background music clear and loud enough for students to hear? You know what, I said I was going to get that on there. Give me just a moment. I'll upload that while I do other questions. So I'm just uploading this right now to YouTube. What did I call that? Give me just a moment here. How to share audio. All right, it's being uploaded to my YouTube channel. I'll post a link here in just a minute so that you all can see that. Okay, that is getting uploaded as we speak, and I'll post the shareable link, but it's not quite ready yet. Give it just another minute or two and it'll be ready. Where do we find the virtual summit recordings? Oh, thank you for whoever posted that in there. Folks, if you want to really see all that there is to offer right now, check that out. There's some great PD there. Would you recommend saving the background as non-editable for interactive slides? So I do a couple of things to make things non-editable and make things editable. I think some of the best ways to explain it is on slide 45. I've created some things to be in the background. So you can't move this text box. You can't move the directions about half the slope, and you can't even move the graph, but I make it so you can move things like the lines. And so there's a couple ways of doing that. Mostly I just download a PNG of the background, and when I make a new slide, whoops, I just add that background in. If this is going too fast, and I know I am going rather fast, I also have a video of this, so I'll link that. And now that I've made this a background, you can't move anything. So on slide 46, there's nothing you can move. It's all stuck. It's all locked. Whereas 45 had some choice in things that are locked and not locked. If you want to see how to lock it, this is the video for that. Somebody said, how would you provide feedback on the slide, describe the vase? The neat thing about the describe the vase slide is that 4 students are all writing at the same time, and even if I don't know what to write yet, I can read what other people are writing, but I have to apply it to my own situation, my own vase. So my answer is going to be a little different. However, the strategy might be the same, and that's really where we're doing our problem solving. As far as feedback on this, sometimes I assign students a quadrant by color, or by name, or I ask them to put their name at the end of it. Also, when this group was working on it, I could see which student was in each one. I was listening in, and I can even say, you know, just because something gets steeper, does that mean that the rate that it's filling changes? And, you know, how do you know? And if it's remaining constant, what does the vase look like? So I'm using both probing and enhancing questions for that. How do you do an interactive notebook? The simplest thing to do is to have students create a Google Slides from their own account, school email account or Gmail account, and share it with you. Once they do, every day they copy and paste your new kind of exit ticket slide into it, and they respond to it. You'll be able to see all of your students' interactive notebooks because they've shared them with you. But if you're curious for more, I highly recommend that you check out the Twitter community, specifically Slides Mania, who's been doing a ton with interactive notebooks. Let me get the Twitter handle for you. And if you're not on Twitter yet, it might be time to make the shift because of the math community. There's so much out there. I'm not one to say like now's the time to get on it, but I'll tell you, I have learned so much from the folks on Twitter right now. So here's the Slides Mania link. And you don't even have to be like on Twitter to be able to see the things that they have available there. Is there a way to make my mouse sort of like a pointer so I can circle things without leaving a trace? I use the arrow buttons. They're up here in the shapes. But I'm not sure how to use one of those cool like hockey puck mouse things where it drags it around. I've just found so much use with the arrows because I can leave multiple there and I can say like Amy's strategy is in green. I can duplicate that arrow and then put, you know, like Naob's strategy is in blue. And so we can have two pointers that interact and they're both still there. So that's one of the reasons why I really like to use the arrows. How do you organize your Google Drive with all these files? So I maintain one place in Google Drive for all 20 groups, and this is the link to all 20. Oops, it's just 20 for some reason. That's weird. Let me see, where would I have done this? I should have a folder here somewhere. Haha, here it is. This is my group slides. I maintain this for every single math workshop I do. And I simply copy and paste the slides in so that my students can, you know, explore them when we're doing that. So if you all actually come into this math workshop slide in a week when I'm doing the base 10 one, you'll notice that it doesn't have algebra slides and it has base 10 slides. So by having this landing page where I can just copy and paste them in, I never have to change this page, which I want to keep the same. That's too much work for me to change this page. When you record on Blackboard, does it record breakout rooms? Just wondering as we're selecting an app for my school. It does not record breakout rooms. However, one thing that I sometimes do is as I'm moving into breakout rooms, I share my screen like I'm doing right now, and I click on that room slide. So I can see what's happening in that breakout room and I can listen to it, but it travels me. It's much like me wearing a body cam in a face-to-face class. It would record whatever group I am leaning into and talking with, and then when I change groups, it records the new group. Coming down to slide 55. How do you organize the individual breakout slides? So yeah, I think I may have addressed this already in terms of everybody is linked up to this home hub page. And then at the start of a new unit, I would just go into each of these and delete all the slides. So I'd select them all and I would delete them, and I would put some new slides in here for the new math workshop. So I'll come over here real quick. If recording a Blackboard Collaborate Ultra with Breakout Rooms, what gets recorded, what doesn't? Whatever's on your screen that you're sharing gets recorded. If you want to go over the group slides together within the class, where would you link the group slides? What I've done on slides 40 through 46 is I selected slides from different groups that I want to go over in class. So when I was in the breakout room, I just copied the slide directly from them. So I'm not the author of these. Other people are the authors. I've just gone in and selected them, and I would use these in my whole group discussion. So just copy and paste them right in. Do you save students' daily work from the breakout rooms? I save a variety of things, but one thing I've noticed is you can very quickly save too much unnecessary technology. So I've started to get a little bit more purposeful about what it is that I save, and I've been using the term sandbox, which comes out of a fabulous book that was just released called Mathematize It. And the idea of the sandbox is much like kids go into a sandbox and they build some sandcastles and explore different ways of building them. But at the end of the day, it's all washed away. It's all, the sandcastles don't stay. But the thinking that they've learned about it does stay. So I frequently use Math Workshop as a sandbox time for them to go in and explore. And then the thing that does stay is what goes into their interactive journal. And that's that little exit ticket. That's the capture of your thinking in the moment. Any suggestions on when students are on an iPad and they select the objects, they move and change sizes? I have a video on that. So there's a couple things that you can do to make iPads better. One, this is how it works with a student interacting on the iPad, moving between the teleconferencing tool and the interactive slides. But in terms of adding and moving images, the iPads run a little slower, so I try to reduce the number of images that are on a slide at any given time. If there are fewer images, the lag from an iPad is not much of an issue anymore. When there's a ton of images all stacked on top of each other, sometimes iPads can lag a little bit. The other thing that's super important with iPads is that you download the app. If you have the app, you'll be able to interact. In terms of prep work and how do you manage all the prep work, I would work with another group of teachers. Here we had 8 activities. We would each be collaboratively work together and decide what are the 8 things we want our students to do in this unit, and we each take one to do. Once we have all 8, it's just a matter of copying and pasting them into your workshops, and I can show you how easy that is. So I have the 8 above. Let's see. So these are the ones I want to have in my groups. Whoopsie daisies, I hit control. Let me hit shift. I copy them and I have my landing slide already made. So I go to group 1. This part will take you about 5 minutes to do. It is a little annoying at first, but it gets it done. So I click group 1 and I paste it. Oh, let's try again. That's never happened before. Oh dear. Of course that does it while I'm doing a presentation. Let me try again. Alrighty. So I take these, I hit copy, come over here and I hit paste. There we go. I don't know what that hiccup was all about. So now they're the fresh, clean slides in group 1 and they're ready to start. So I would do that for all the different groups. Do you use only one computer or do you use 2 when you teach us in your classes? I typically just use a Chromebook. I don't use a PC and I don't use a Mac for equity issues that those are very expensive in compared to a Chromebook. The other piece of technology that I always use is a headset so that you all don't hear the background noise of my kids playing Legos, which is incredibly noisy. But that is all the technology I use. That being said, because I'm trying to record these for a shared space in teacher learning, right now I do have 2 monitors. That way I can show the full recording, but typically I do not have 2 monitors, and I can show you the way that I stagger my windows so that I can still see everything.
Hello, online teaching world.
It is at this link here. And that's how I see both my student chat messages, if my microphone is on, and the interactive slides. If you want to go over the group, oh wait, we did that one. What's the best way to introduce the breakout room small group activities? Start with partners first, then move more than 2 and so forth. What's the best intro? Time frame, 2 minutes. Should there be a time frame for breakouts? Should not go past? This is a great question because it's all based on the norms and routines that you set, practice, and maintain in your class. I would highly recommend, especially if you're a secondary teacher, find a kindergarten teacher to buddy up with and continue to ask this because kindergarten teachers, in my opinion, have mastered the idea of routines and maintaining those routines because they do it with kiddos who've come to the school environment for the first time. That being said, I typically will do partners for 2 minutes all week long. I give them a very low stakes question to talk about. Things like, what's your favorite food? Once that, it doesn't matter what your answer is. It's all about learning to love the microphone. Once they've mastered that, I've made sure I set forth rules and consequences for breaking the rules and made sure I can manage those pairs for 2 minutes. The next week we might do groups of 4 for 2 minutes. We might do groups of 4 for 4 minutes. And we slowly build up to 30 minutes or the whole 45-minute class period. And we practice. If I see students being inappropriate, if I see students not knowing how to use the technology, not turning on their microphone, or violating other rules, norms that we've established, then I move back in time and I go backwards. We practice. Once they've mastered it, we move forwards. And it's through that, keeping those expectations high and practicing it and keeping to what they're responsible for, that you'll be able to get to those longer groups. All right, folks, if you have other questions, let me know. Raha, I can't wait to add this slide to my website. This looks so great. I can't wait to use it. And have a fantastic day, everyone. Have a great weekend. Nicole, I think I have Math Workshop set up again for next Saturday. Oh, the next workshop. I don't have it listed yet. I just need to get it on my website. I gotta find time. So, because a lot of things are filling up. I might try and get it in maybe on a Wednesday. Let me see if I have availability then. But yes, keep an eye out on the class offerings and I'll put it up there. Go ahead, Raha.
Hi, Teresa. I have two questions. The first one is, I'm trying to push my team when we go back on contract to take one of your classes together. And what would you recommend that we take together? Like if for like a variety, some have taken a class with you, but others are brand new. Do you have any recommendation which one we should take as a team?
You're fourth grade-ish, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I would recommend the Own a Space one because you get a ton of ideas all at once. But you know, it's not like you have to be a master at any one of them. And the strategies for any content area is another one that's people like in, you know, that fourth grade kind of setting.
Okay.
You know, it could go kind of either way. If you have a big ESOL population, you might check that one out too. And maybe even, go ahead.
We were thinking the sorts one for the ELL, which I loved, and it's so cool because a lot of the stuff that you have taught us in that class, like Lara and I took it back immediately and were able to use it. So that one was the one we were thinking of, but I just wanted to get your recommendation in.
Yeah, I think after people join one, they either buy into it and they're like, yes, let's start with something easy and build up. Some people are overwhelmed and they're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. But the important thing is, even if you become overwhelmed, at least you've had exposure. So when you start to see, you know, other teachers doing things, you can be like, oh yeah, I remember doing that in this workshop. And then they're more likely to try out if that teacher has a buddy. So the class is nice, but it's the relationship you make and you sustain with the other teachers on your team that's really going to do the difference, just like you and Laura have been doing.
Thank you. The other question I have is, do you have any dietary restrictions?
Any dietary restrictions?
Like, yes, like, do you have any allergies or anything? Because Lara and I wanted to send you something, so we wanted to make sure that it was okay.
You are so sweet. I have gone back on a keto diet, which I frequently cheat and don't stay on, but it's been really really useful for me in terms of energy that I get. So, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because I remember one time you made a comment and you said, I'm not eating that anymore. And I was like, I think she has some restrictions. So just wanted to double check. Thank you for everything you do, Teresa.
Sure thing.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Joyce, go ahead. Joyce, are you still on? Let me see. It doesn't look like it. All right, folks. Well, happy online learning.